The cool thing about working eccentrics is that we can work the exact same movement before we can perform the concentric with the same balance components and with the exact, basically almost the exact same movement pattern. However, that is also one of the downsides of this exercise, since the entry level is quite high. Balance can be a major limiting factor, and if that is the case, you are generally better off doing most of your work in other exercise variation, for example, chest to wall supported variations of the press to handstand, where you can work on developing your capacity without being limited by your ability to balance. However, if you do have a high level of strength, starting to do some more freestanding work can also be a great way of learning how to apply this strength while having to balance. Now, the idea behind the eccentrics are generally quite simple. You get into a handstand and you try to perform a negative straddle press as slowly and as controlled as possible. First step is to get into as big a straddle as possible while keeping hips, feet and shoulders in one line. Once you're in your deepest straddle possible, you'll need to allow your hips to posteriorly rotate to further lower the legs. As this happens, at some point your shoulders will have to move slightly forwards and close slightly, but you'll want to resist this as much as you can throughout the movement. And continue resisting as you lower the legs further down. You might not be able to control the full range of motion and feel like once you get past a certain point, you just tend to drop and not be able to control and push against. And that's completely normal and can still be worth working on the exercise. But whether you're able to control the full range of motion or only part of it, a useful regression or progression can be to try to stop the movement for 2 to 3 seconds in the very lowest position possible. So for someone new to the exercise, the lowest position I can pause in might be somewhere around here, pause for 2 to 3 seconds, and then still lower down with as much control as possible. Whereas if you can already perform controlled full range of motion eccentrics, a good way to keep you honest and not just let yourself drop in the very bottom position is to think that you're going to try to pause for 2 to 3 seconds with your feet hovering just above the floor.